Maximus is a man of many identities. He's a father, a husband, a general, and a friend. With each of these roles comes a set of responsibilities that bind him. As a general, he carries the weight of loyalty, not just to the empire, but to the men under his command. Their lives are in his hands, and he is accountable for their safety, their success, and ultimately the protection of the Roman people. As a father and a husband, his duty is to provide for his family, to shield them from harm, and to ensure they can flourish in a world that is anything but kind. His love for them drives him, but it also shackles him. Even as a friend, Maximus is bound. His friendships are built on mutual trust and shared purpose. He must act with honor, always considering how his choices impact those around him. In each of these roles, Maximus's actions ripple through the lives of others, and in this way, he is never truly free. But after the murder of his family and the betrayal of his friend and emperor, Marcus Aurelius, something shifts in Maximus. His purpose now transcends personal duty. It becomes a mission not only for vengeance, but to fulfill Marcus Aurelius' dying wish, to free Rome from tyranny and restore the Republic. It's easy to think that this new goal would simply shackle him again, chaining him to another obligation, another duty. Yet this is where Maximus' true strength emerges. He is no longer a man bound by servitude, merely reacting to life's demands. He's become an agent of his own fate. Rather than being consumed by the desire for revenge, Maximus wields it with precision. He's not driven by blind fury, but by an unwavering sense of justice. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the Colosseum, where he finds himself face to face with Commodus, the man who took everything from him. Maximus stands there, his enemy within reach, the crowd roaring for blood. This is the moment anyone else would become slave to their emotions and act on pure impulse, lose themselves to rage. But Maximus has evolved. He stops. He sees young Lucius, innocent, unaware, clutched in Commodus' arms. Maximus refuses to let hatred corrupt the child's world and stays his hand. This restraint shows us something remarkable. Maximus is completely in control, not only of his sword, but of his mind. In a world full of brutality and chaos, he is guided by an unbreakable moral code, one that he has crafted for himself. It is not the Empire, not vengeance, and not even fate that dictates his path. It is Maximus alone who chooses, and in this choice he discovers his own form of freedom. He's not a slave to the external forces that would seek to manipulate him, whether it's the pull of revenge or the corrupt powers of Rome. He has mastered what Marcus Aurelius spoke of, power over your mind, not outside events. Maximus doesn't merely survive, he transcends. His freedom is not won through rebellion or bloodshed, but through the mastery of his own will. In doing so, he turns from being a man shackled by duty and obligation to one who carves his own path through the world, uncompromising and free in the only way that truly matters.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius.
Within himself. If Maximus is defined by duty, Commodus is defined by indulgence. He is the polar opposite, a man with no expectations, no responsibilities, and a dangerous sense of entitlement. While Maximus shoulders the weight of loyalty and honor, Commodus is carefree, disconnected, and untethered by any sense of duty. He doesn't fight for Rome, he barely even shows up.
Have I missed it? Have I missed the battle?
During the final battle against the barbarians, when the fate of the Empire hangs in the balance, Commodus is conspicuously absent. For him, power is something inherited, not earned. Commodus loves only one thing: himself. He doesn't seek to earn freedom, respect, or control. He expects them on a silver platter. His life is not shaped by duty, but by entitlement, believing he deserves admiration and obedience simply because of his bloodline. When these things don't come to him, when the world refuses to meet his expectations, he feels betrayed, wounded by a universe he believes owes him everything. Even when Commodus becomes emperor, a role that should come with immense responsibilities, he shirks his duties. He wants the title, the luxury, the outward signs of power, but none of the responsibility that comes with it. While Maximus fights for the freedom of others, Commodus revels in a false freedom, one that is devoid of meaning, because it is neither earned nor deserved. But Commodus' version of freedom is not freedom at all. He's shackled by his need for approval. Every action he takes is driven by a desperate hunger for validation, whether it's from his father, whose love and pride he never truly earns, or from the Roman people, whom he tries to win over with hollow gestures and stage spectacles. He doesn't follow a moral code or a set of principles like Maximus. Instead, he is ruled by his emotions, by jealousy, insecurity, and the constant need to feel important. His supposed freedom is, in reality, a prison of his own making. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the ultimate act of betrayal, killing his own father. Commodus can't tolerate that Marcus loves Maximus more than him. Consumed by jealousy, he murders the man who denied him the one thing he craves the most, his father's love and approval. Even in power, Commodus is a man controlled by his emotions, incapable of governing for himself, let alone an empire. His desperation reaches its peak in his twisted relationship with his sister Lucilla. Commodus manipulates her by using her own son, his nephew, as leverage, trying to force her love and loyalty. He uses threats, coercion, and violence to fill the void where genuine love and respect should be. This is the tragic irony of Commodus. Though he sits on the throne, draped in the trappings of power, he is far from free. His every move is dictated by fear of rejection, and his constant need for control is just another chain that binds him. In every way, Commodus represents the opposite of Maximus, where Maximus is bound by honor and duty, yet achieves a deeper sense of freedom by mastering his mind. Commodus sees himself as free from obligations, but this so-called freedom is empty. He lives enslaved to his own desires, his insecurity, and his thirst for approval, forever chasing the respect and love he believes should be his birthright. The gladiators in the film represent an ironic truth. Despite their status as slaves, they are, in many ways, freer than Commodus ever was. Stripped of their previous lives and forced to fight for survival in the arena, they still manage to find a sense of purpose that eludes the emperor. Where Commodus rules through fear and manipulation, the gladiators follow Maximus by choice. Their loyalty is not forced, it's earned through his skill, leadership, and honor. Maximus doesn't demand their obedience, they give it willingly, trusting him to lead them not just through the next fight, but on a path towards something greater. Though their actions may be guided by the will of another, that of Maximus, the key difference is that they choose to follow him. In a life where everything else is taken from them, this choice, this brotherhood forged through hardship, becomes their anchor. They are not mindless followers, but comrades, bound by a shared struggle and mutual respect. This bond is deeper than simple survival. It's a kinship that makes them accountable for each other's lives. We see this when Maximus saves one of them from being trampled by a chariot in the Colosseum, a moment that goes beyond self-preservation, reflecting a sense of duty to his brothers, and this loyalty is returned. When there's a suspicion that Maximus's food may have been poisoned, one of his fellow gladiators, Hagen, tests it for him, risking his own life without hesitation. In their world, where death is ever present, they rely on one another not just to survive, but to preserve the integrity of the brotherhood they've built. Their loyalty to Maximus goes further still. When Maximus needs them most, during his escape from Proximo's manor, they lay down their lives without question. They hold back the Emperor's guard, knowing full well that their sacrifice may cost them everything. Yet in that moment, they choose their own death, not as slaves fighting for their mere survival, but as free men dying for a cause. They die for their brother, for each other, and for a glimpse of freedom, something more meaningful than the false power Commodus wields. In choosing to die for one another, for something greater than themselves, they transcend their physical chains. Their freedom lies in their shared purpose and the honor that drives them. Their lives, though shaped by captivity, hold a purpose far greater than the hollow throne of an emperor. This brings us to the heart of what Gladiator teaches us about freedom. True freedom isn't about doing whatever you want, whenever you want. It's not about pleasure or chasing empty desires. Freedom comes from the pursuit of meaningful goals and the willingness to sacrifice in order to achieve them. The key is this: freedom comes not from avoiding responsibility, but from embracing the pursuit of goals that truly matter to you. It doesn't matter if those goals are difficult or if they require sacrifice. What matters is that they are your goals, born out of genuine desire, not doubt or fear. Too often people shrink their dreams because they are afraid of failure, or because the path seems too dangerous or uncertain. But the path to freedom is not an easy one. It requires courage, discipline, and the will to stay the course. Imagine for a moment that you knew with absolute certainty that whatever goal you set, you would achieve. What kind of goal would you pursue? That is the mindset required to achieve true freedom. It's not about whether the task seems impossible. It's about having the courage to try and the discipline to see it through. Because in the end, impossible tasks are just tasks that haven't been finished yet. Gladiator reminds us that true freedom isn't about living without limits, it's about living with purpose.